Hello guys, I hope you're excited about VALTAN being released. This is my guide for the VALTAN raid. If you enjoyed running it blind with your friends, feel free to ignore this video though. Let's get to it. VALTAN normal and hard is about exactly the same, so the video will apply for both difficulties. Normal mode will require your eye level to be 1415 and 1445 for hard mode. If you're interested in build requirements, feel free to visit my other videos to learn more about it. This video will cover the VALTAN raid's first game. Unlike Abyss Raid Argos, Legion raids have health bars and majority of the gimmicks will be determined by HP bar numbers, so it's good to remember them. There will be an important gimmick at 30 and 15 bars. Legion raids also have an Esther gauge. Viewers say it's similar to Limit Break in Final Fantasy XIV. Only the raid leader can use it by pressing Ctrl Z, X, or C. They are strategically used to go through harsh mechanics. Be sure to use them at the right times. To give a little description, Esther Thyrane does massive damage, Esther Wade does huge stagger, and Esther Balthor provides defense buff to the party. All 8 players need to decide on their positions before the fight. Positions will be 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11 o'clock. You should stand at an earlier position based on your stagger ability. The higher you are, the lower the position number. Battle items are also very important here. Items like Time Stop or Panaceas, Sacred Charms, Whirlwind Bombs will be good to bring here. My additional overall tip is to keep an eye on your buffs and debuff bars, and the boss's buff and debuff bars as well. The UI tells a lot more than you think. Let's go through the raid step by step. First, when you start the fight, there will be Predator of the Dark Mountains, a purple wolf boss. He will have 4 different phases. First phase is where he will do his normal patterns. I will add additional patterns as phases change. Majority of the attacks are frontal, so it's wise to stay at his 5 or 7 o'clock positions. His normal patterns are as follows. Regular scratch. He scratches in a cone forward. Low jump scratch to 360. There's also a donut explosion afterwards. You need to get close to him after the 360 attack. Backstep into flash kick. Don't chase him. It is smarter to get away far by his sides. Crouch to dash and grab. If you look closely on the floor, his path will show. Make sure to not get grabbed. Tornado attack. He summons a tornado with shurikens flying by. Crouch to exploding AoE attack. He spawns various explosion pools under your feet. Move around to a safe spot before doing DPS. Crouch to various scratches. His back is vulnerable for a long time. Try to DPS here. If you push your damages accordingly to about 45 lines, then he will proceed to split into 2. Make sure you stay away from the transformation area because it will do damage to you. When the split transformation is complete, you will find Commander Luguru, the Red Wolf. You'll need to keep an eye on your debuff when fighting Luguru. Every time you get hit by his scratching patterns, you'll get a bleed stack. If your bleed stack becomes 3, the stack gets removed and creates a huge line of damage to yourself and your party mates. If players do not take care of their bleed stack, you'll see 3 or even 4 lines going across the screen to wipe party mates very quickly. Any cleanse skills or battle items like Sacred Charm from party mates and Panacea works to remove bleed stacks. The Red Wolf's additional patterns are Bleed and Darkness at later phase, and a large line AoE attack. He summons a huge line of attacks, make sure to dodge this instead of DPS. At line 40, his partner will come to the battle as well, Destroyer Lucas. There will be a notification as well when you appear. When the blue wolf appear in the battlefield, one thing to make sure to know that these 2 wolves cannot be close together. If they do, your damage will be decreased by a huge amount. You can find this out by looking at the boss's buff UI. 2 players will also have a mark above their head, with color blue and red. This is to determine who the wolf is aggro to. Usually the aggro person is the closest player who hasn't been attacked by his howl. It's the aggro's job to separate the wolves. Usually pubs in Korea divide both wolves on 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock positions. Make sure to communicate which wolves are on which side. Additional control tip is to let the blue aggro player to run away to control boss's positions. This is because if the red aggro player runs far away from the red wolf, he will always use his tornado pattern. Blue Wolf always uses dash and grab attack to the far away player, making it easier to control overall boss patterns in the fight. It is important to know which wolves are on which side because 4 of the party mates will have a golden buff on their buff UI and around your character. This means you will do more damage to the intruder blue boss. If you do not have this golden buff, you will do 0 damage to the blue wolf. There's also an advanced strategy to use Esther's Thyrain to hit both of the wolves, because Thyrain's attack is done in a long line. Party members just need to make sure the bosses are lined up properly. Taunt really helps in this situation because this will cause them stay in place for a few seconds. Be sure the party is divided properly and deal the damage until bar 35. The blue boss will run away eventually. Line 35 to 30 is where Lugaro becomes very tricky. He will also apply a darkness debuff on you. If you reach 5 stacks of darkness, you will become feared and grabbed afterwards. On item level, this often kills most of the players, so this is one of the first DPS checks in Lostark. If you do not have enough DPS to push to HP line 30, the difficulty of the battle skyrockets. If you happen to lack DPS, raid leaders using Esther Thyrain, Control Z, may help you push those lines quickly to proceed to the next phase. At line 30, this is where the important gimmick starts. There will be a notice saying Lugaro is preparing a huge attack. When this happens, everyone needs to go to their preset positions I've explained in the beginning of the video. Lugaro will spawn red and blue orbs. You need to take all 8 orbs in an alternating color order, like red, blue, then stagger check afterwards. If these are taken at the wrong order or fail the stagger check, it's an automatic wipe. It is important to take the orbs properly. You'll be doing this mechanic twice, so everyone needs to make sure they focus. There are 2 strategies to do this properly. First strategy, taking all the orbs, then stagger, is the standard procedure. The more orbs you take, the more stagger damage the party does, so you need to make sure all orbs are taken. For example, throwing a whirlwind bomb when only 1 orb is taken is usually a waste because you don't have enough bonus stagger damage to Lugaro. So make sure you take all the orbs first and then throw a whirlwind bomb. Only 1 person can take 1 orb at a time because you will get a debuff when an orb is taken. If you take another orb during this debuff, you will die instantly. Using a Panacea will allow you to take 1 more, or Shining Panacea will allow you to take as many as you want during the immune to debuff phase. This is how solo busters do it. You can either use voice comm or any sort of communication to take all the orbs in order. If you look at the boss's buff bar closely, the purple icon will appear. The number of correct orbs you take, it will increase by 1. So if the debuff number is times 3, it is your turn to take the orb. If the buff becomes 8, all of the orbs are taken properly. If a party member dies though, the mechanic gets significantly harder because there are 8 orbs to take care of. Most of the time, the dead person's position is called out and rest of the party members adjust their positions accordingly, where the last person usually dribbles the last 2 orbs. This is why the positions are usually ranked by stagger abilities. For example, if position number 5 dies, people at position 6, 7, 8 needs to adjust, so position 6 takes 5th orbs, position 7 takes the 6th orb, and 8th position, which is usually a bar, dribbles the 7th and 8th orbs together. Or as mentioned earlier, utilizing Panacea or Cleanse can have 1 person take care of multiple orbs, but this will require a lot of communication within the team. If more than 1 person dies, you usually wipe due to lack of stagger, so it is key to not to die in the raid because you only have 1 life. Second strategy is to use Esther Way. What Esther Way does is he does a huge amount of stagger damage. You have to make sure your party does enough DPS though, because using Esther Way essentially means you don't need Thyrain's additional DPS. If you feel that your party does not lack DPS, you can use Way to easily pass the orb mechanics. Usually the raid leader takes the orb and spawn Esther Way on Lugaro to stagger enough to pass the mechanic. By the way, even if Lugaro is staggered, taking the orbs in a wrong order still wipes the party. So if people are confused about the orb order, it is usually safer to dribble the orb than taking it. Whichever strategy you do, you must communicate with the team. 1 person not knowing the mechanic will consistently wipe your party. After the 30 line mechanic, Blue Wolf Destroyer Lucas will fight you. From this point on, the patterns are about the same. Your party will need to push to line 15 for the next orb mechanic. The Blue Wolf does not have a bleed stack, but his AoE damages are very painful. You need to make sure you dodge them all. His unique normal patterns are as follows. Scratch to 360 will also have a donut explosion, so if you happen to see him do a 360, make sure you stay closer to him. Red explosion pool spawn. His hand turns red and does a 360 to spawn various small red pools around the map. These explode in a huge radius, so you must run away. Green explosion pool spawn. His hand turns green and does a 360 to spawn green fires around the map. These explode in an inside safe explosion. However, if people are grouped together, the explosion gets stacked up to a point that is impossible to dodge, so you need to control your positions. Blue ice projectiles. His hand turns blue and does a 360 to spawn blue icicles. These will fire in a star snowflake shape pattern. If you get hit by them, it will freeze you. My personal tip is to spacebar towards the projectile instead of away. You will get hit, but at least it won't freeze you because you're CC immune. Also, since each projectiles are created per person, everyone gathering up in one place helps as well. About 25 lines, the Red Wolf Lugaro will intrude the fight. Like the 45 line pattern, the strategy is the same. Make sure they're far apart from each other. The only difference is the golden buff will be effective on the red wolf this time because the red wolf is the intruder this time. As mentioned on the red wolf phase, it is better for the blue aggro person to control the wolf to be far away from red. At 15 lines, the boss will do the second orb pattern. It's the exact same mechanic done at the 30th line. When you successfully complete the second orb taking mechanic, the blue wolf locust will proceed to do a long transformation animation. There will be a bunch of projectiles flying at you with 3 rings explode from outer area to inner area. After the final transformation, the wolf will combine into the purple wolf again like the initial start of the fight. The purple wolf will have both the red and blue wolf's normal patterns and unique patterns, with additional grab attack and gravity field. These do a significant amount of damage, so you gotta be careful. The last phase purple wolf also has additional mechanics. About every 2 minutes he will smash the ground and fear one party member and disappear. It is usually the farthest positioned member from the boss. It is important for the feared player to let everyone know he is feared because the boss will appear behind them and proceed a stagger check. Make sure to spam that ping to let everyone know that position. First stagger fail will do huge damage on the feared player, usually in death, but second fail will result into a team wipe. For a special tip, keep an eye on the boss's stagger bar. When he proceeds to cast the fear mechanic, the stagger bar will turn into a lock sign. So if a targeted player either presses space bar or an awakening, he can ignore the fear CC to skip the mechanic. This happens because spacebar and awakenings are both CC immune. Solo carry runs usually do this to avoid the mechanic. With that, this concludes the video. I hope this guide helped you to hopefully clear the first gate of the VALTAN raid. If the raid still gives you trouble, don't be discouraged. Take your time and try again. Myself also took total 3 hours plus on my first runs with my friends. Good luck and thanks again. Bye!